Now, spies, they walk among us. Always have done, always will. Part of the bargain is understanding that we have our own British spies walking elsewhere too. And the other part is staying on top of the threat, the classic game of cat and mouse. It is down to our intelligence services to make sure they spot the spies operating here and prevent their activities from tipping over into real-world danger as much as they can. We're of course talking about here MI5, MI6, GCHQ and counter-terrorism police. And that's why this evening I tip my hat to all those involved in the investigation and detention of 3 suspected spies in the UK alleged to be working for the Russian security services. Now, these suspects are allegedly Bulgarian nationals. They've lived and worked here in the UK for many years. They were actually detained back in February, along with another 2 suspects. Investigations like these necessarily take place beyond our view. Sometimes the whole criminal trial process actually happens in secret, behind closed doors, due to national reasons of security. It's the Official Secrets Act. In my mind, that's an arrangement worth having in a country like ours that has been host to some really, truly horrendous Russian intelligence operations that go back to the height of the Cold War. Let's remind ourselves, in the 1950s and 1960s, a number of British nationals worked undercover for the Soviets. The most infamous was the Portland Five, who were later uncovered by MI5. Their 90 Soviet diplomats were expelled from the UK in 1971 after they were accused of spying for the Kremlin. In recent times, 2006, former Russian spy Alexander Litvinenko, a fierce critic of Vladimir Putin, was murdered after his cup of tea was laced with a radioactive substance. And in 2018, just a few years ago, former Russian double agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia were poisoned by the nerve agent Novichok in Salisbury. Now, on those most recent occasions that are fresh in our minds, it felt a little bit like we weren't ahead of the threat, that it's got to the point of Russian operatives carrying out lethal poisonings on our streets. But today's revelation about these suspects, for whatever reason, revealed to us now, even though they've been detained for 6 months at this point, it does seem to confirm there's more going on behind the scenes than we necessarily realise, and that our authorities, they're not asleep at the wheel. And in a world filled with continuous threats from bad, murderous actors like Vladimir Putin, that's something I like to be reminded of.